cold stuff, you put it in your drink. You was breaking up. You said you put it in your drink. Like it? I'm about to get some. Yeah, sour apple. The liquid that you can. $20. But I'm guessing it's pretty good. Try sour apple, I think. I'll do 2 pink lemonades. Look at my shit for 10 a.m. Yep. I'm gonna put that whole zip to the side basically. I'm gonna see what I got. And I'm gonna other apartment to watch. I can still.
Doop doop down 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 down. Good evening, gents. Hello, Moto. Damn, it's 8:40 already.
Oh yeah. Probably wash some clothes downstairs. At least my room, like the bathroom, looks really good. I ain't dipping on my white beaters. The white one.
All right, fellas, what's going on? And it's the franchise guru here with Maximilians, the TV brilliancy, the skiing guy. We are here tonight to talk about the playoffs. The wild card round is finished, and now we are in the divisional round. We had a great night of wild card football being played last night. One of the first times I got to actually watch a few games, man. I got to see some things. A little bit of controversial shit's going on, but at the same time, great football, man. Again, great football from a great league and a bunch of great coaches, postseason coaches as well. Some big time games was played, and we're gonna jump right into it, and let's show what happened on the playoff tree, and we'll get into it as we get into it. The first game that was played yesterday was the Houston Texans and Coach Brandon versus Junior, the wild card assassin. We're gonna call him the West Coast Bill Walsh, baby Bill Walsh. That's what we're gonna call him. So anyway, let's slide to Houston real fast and see what happened in that matchup as we talk about the stats and the storylines. The box score goes as follows: 14 nothing first quarter. Houston went up in that quarter 14 nothing. They got to a great start home with that home crowd going crazy. 379 yards, offensive yards gained, 419 for the Houston Texans, 154 on the ground for the Browns, 168 Houston, and Johnny Martin got busy. In the passing game, Houston won that as well. Offensive passing yards, 251 to 225, 17 first downs for the Browns to the Houston Texans, 14 first downs. Turnovers, though, in the playoffs, they are big. They are key. You turn the ball over, you are putting yourself in a bad situation. Four turnovers for the Browns to one. So you ask yourself, what type of game did Matt Corral have in one of his, short uh, experiences of playoffs? And we go to the numbers and let's dig at it. All right, so Eli Stowers had 125.8 QB rating. He was on fire. 76.6, you're not going to win a playoff game with that. 237, three touchdowns. He threw four INTs and was sacked twice. So that Houston defensive front seven was active in this game. However, the young cannon, Eli Stowers, two touchdowns, one interception, wasn't sacked at all in this game. You look into it, you look at Johnny Martin, who showed up 26 carries for 139 rushing yards, literally averaged 5.3 a pop, two touchdowns, three broken tackles in that game. Brian Robinson Jr. showed up, 13 carries, 107 yards, 8.2, didn't score a touchdown at all, but he had the yardage, 8.2 yards a pop. Old ass Moody gets in the game, man. Four carries, 35 yards, 8.8. And then there's Eli Stowers with his legs, three carries, 23 yards, 7.7 yards a pop. And as you can see, the run game was really working for the Houston Texans. All right, so when you look at it, the Houston Texans got busy with their tight end. He had four catches. Cameron Latu, who's used to playing the big games in Alabama, they don't do nothing but playing the big games. All right, so Latu had four catches for 104 yards, 26 yards a pop for a tight end. He was Woo Babying with one touchdown. Moody out the backfield led the Browns in receiving yards and receiving catches at eight for 89, and a touchdown in that game. Quandre Harris, the veteran, had two catches, 79 yards, and a touchdown. So it looked like Houston got behind that Brown secondary. Tight end Zach Wheatley, three catches, 56 yards, no touchdowns, and the new Tyreek Hill of the league, Mr. Branch, two catches, 53 yards. So he got deep, 26.5 yards a pop. Peyote had a catch and a touchdown, and Addison had three catches for 23 yards and a touchdown. Now, Addison is their guy over there. I said that the Browns had to find out who was their number one receiver, who was it going to be, whether it was tight end, running back. So it seemed like their offense was in play. I mean, when you look at what the Browns do, they throw check down passes. They like to do the West Coast offense. Their passing game is an extension to their run. They do not. But trust what I'm telling you, they do not really take deep shots in this game in games. Period. They will march up and down the field with their dink and dunk system. Um, Now, my thing is, I said this, Max. You can attest to this. Last time we talked about this game, and we went in depth with it. I said that the Browns will have to be able to move up and down the field because of the way the Texans play their defense. They're not going to give up no deep passes. You're going to dink and dunk them to get up the field, but you're going to have to be able to score when you're putting drives together. And it looks like you look at the box score, they started off 14 nothing. Houston scored 21 in the second quarter. Cleveland had 14. So they had two scoring quarters, 14 in the second and 7 in the fourth. Looked like two field goals was kicked or an extra point was missed in the fourth quarter by Houston. But that first quarter was crucial, man. 28, 21, 28, 35 points was given up in the first half. It looked like that the Browns got their shit together a little bit in the second half. Only gave up 9 points in the second half, but they only scored seven themselves in the second half. And I usually do it. And just look at the stat line. What we're looking at right now, we're seeing that they wasn't able to finish. Houston was. And that's the game. Let's look and see what happened on the defensive side of things. over here. So let's go to stats right away and see what happened in the sack department. Remember them HBCU D linemen that they got over here are dogs, but led by Jason Dumas, the D tackle, he had a sack. Tyrone McKay also contributed with a sack in his game. And then in the interceptions, they threw four of them. Eli Ricks, man, he been picking the ball off all year. He tell you don't try me at all, is what Eli been saying, man. Eli, Mr. Touchdown, Mr. Pick Six guy, Mr. Throw it my way and I take that thing back from you, man. Get the ball. That's his name. Eli, get the ball, Ricks. Two interceptions in this game. Isaiah Sands, who's one of the better DBs in Cleveland, had an INT in this game. Rudy Franklin showed up, their actual number one corner, and Brisker seemed like he'd been picking the ball off all year as well. He had one as well. So that Houston's defense showed up in this game. Their offense was able to score in the first half at a high rate, and they were able to get themselves the dub to move on to the divisional round, waiting for their opponent. So again, shout out to what we saw. All right, so that was the early game that was played. Now, I think the Browns, let's talk about where teams go from now, right? Browns they go at home, they pack their locker up, they get to go home, they get to enjoy, a little bit of vacation time and get away from football for a minute. But I think the quarterback needs to, honestly, he needs to really get back to work. I said it before this game started. The Browns, in my opinion, I love their style of play. I love how they play offense, but I still think they are in search of who's their number one receiver. I don't think they have to go into this draft and try to even if they do. I think the number one receiver is on their team, and I do think it's between Keys and Addison. And, to me, Addison is the guy. I think you got to find a way to really make him. And when the West Coast offense works well, it's because the quarterback has a connection with a receiver that can make things happen, in tight situations. Whether he got to, beat the jam. But think about it. Joe Montana to Jerry Rice. Think about it. Steve Young to Jerry Rice. Think about it. Brett Favre to any of those receivers he had over there. But who was the main guy over there for a long time? Sterling Sharp was the guy, right? Even now, Aaron Rodgers, when he was throwing to Devontae Adams, you have to, if you're going to play that type of offense, you have to have a receiver that you can rely on, that can make plays, that can beat the defense, because it's an extension of your run game. Honestly, 4-yard passes, 3-yard passes, dunk downs. Your running backs have to be able to make people miss out of the backfield when they're catching the ball. They have to be able to beat one-on-ones in those situations. So I think Matt Corral is exactly where he needs to be. I don't think the Browns are in a situation where they need to panic and worry about, do we need another quarterback? At this point, I think they got to ride or die with him. I think they do have the right signal caller. I think they just have to get who is our weapons, our legit weapons. We have a great tight end. We have a couple of receivers on this roster that can actually be that guy. And then I would take a positive out of Brian Robinson Jr. having a eight yards of carry day and 100 yards in the playoffs. I think he could build from that. And if he can give them what Tony Moody used to give them, then I think this team will be right back where they need to be. Defensively, I think they have all the right pieces on the field. I honestly do. We want to see a playmaker emerge from that defensive line. And if I'm the Browns, that's probably where I'm spending my money at in this offseason, somewhere on that front four. When it comes down to pass rush, he's the guy. We haven't really seen the guy over there since Clowney and Rock Gray, the D tackle they had for a few years back. So we need a legit premier pass rusher over here, and I think Matt Corral needs to just take that next step. That's all. Take that next step. Um, and this Browns team would be solid right now. And right with that being said, Houston slides their way into the divisional round. They still ready to play football, so they got one more week where they can load up and lock and load and obtain their goal. All right, now the next game I'm gonna talk about. I watched all three of these games that I'm gonna talk about coming up. And we're looking at the Broncos, the Raiders, the Dolphins, the Bills, and the Cardinals and the Falcons. So let's dig into the Cardinals Falcons game and let's talk about the numbers. Now, I was locked into this game as well while I was watching the Dolphins and the Raiders, Dolphins and the Bills go through it, and a little bit of the Raiders and the Broncos game as well. Um, I think the Cardinals did a great job at home, right? I think they did a great job. This was a tough game in the first half, very tough game. I mean, even third and fourth quarter wasn't that crazy. But let's talk about what I saw. I saw a coach who played football, right? I saw a coach who actually played football, actually coached his team to win a playoff game. I saw a locked in coach, and I think it carried over to the field. On the other side of things, in ATL for the Falcons and their head coach, I saw a guy who didn't respect the process. Um, I think he didn't respect the process. I didn't think he respected the fact that it was a playoff game. You're on the road in a playoff game, and I think he played it. Played the video game, and in the process of playing the video game, you know, they got to the red zone a whole lot in that game. But again, instead of kicking field goals, they went for it on fourth down, and those big time plays that they didn't make on fourth down. Every time they got stopped on fourth down, they gave that Cardinals team momentum. Um, and I honestly, to be real with you, I think that was the game because if you look at it, 6 points were scored by Arizona. They kicked two field goals in the first quarter. They scored a touchdown in the second quarter, right? And the whole thing is this: if you really look at this, the Falcons had plenty of opportunities to make this a ball game in the first half and didn't because they went for it on fourth down a whole lot. Their play calling was disrespectful and ignorant. They played the game. They didn't play football. And I think that hurt him. In the second half, he tried to capture that back, and he did, and he got stuck in the rhythm. But by that time, you're playing a type of coach like Coach Falk, and it's a little too late. Because now all he got to do, no matter if your onslaught comes, because we do know this, everybody's going to make a run. The video game is exactly like basketball. Somebody's going to make a run, right? I don't care what the momentum is, they will let a team strike and come back. All you got to do is put one drive together. And I think that's what happened in the second half. A close ball game. Think about it. 16 is a 16-point game going into the fourth quarter, 16-8, right? And then 17 points happened from the Cardinals in that fourth quarter. They finished that fourth quarter strong again, but that was due to the Falcons and their turnovers. I think the Falcons, again, they did not respect the process. They did not respect what type of game they was in and who they were playing. They were in video game mode, and they played the game like you're playing mud or weekend league or something, where it's no, I'm not punting, I'm going forward on fourth down, I'm not kicking field goals, none of that things. And all those points they left on the field in the red zone is the result of them losing this game 33-15. All right, so let's look and see what happened stat line right now. Nico, 84.2, 214 yards, throw a touchdown, throw a pick. All right, here we go. Daniels, 43.8, 283, one touchdown, four interceptions, was sacked twice as well. And that's the game right there. Four interceptions from your quarterback. In the run game, E.J. Smith, 16 carries, and most of those carries came in the second half because the game was still a close game. Uh, the Falcons decided, let's start to play some real football now, and they gave their running back the ball. He scored a touchdown. He also averaged 6.1 in the pot. But, the guy that been surprising everybody all year on his breakout season, Cameron Harris, 21 carries, 155, 7.4, and a touchdown. He had that big time run that broke the back of the Falcons right after halftime, where he nice little dive, bounced out and cut all the way across field. And took that thing for like a 60-yard run. He didn't score on that run, but it was the run that broke the back of the Atlanta Falcons, would put this game in the hands of the team from the desert. All right, and Cameron Harris was the key feature to that. 21 carries, 155, and a touchdown in this game. Nico had 438 carries on 9.5. He scored as well on the ground. When it comes down to receivers, Malachi Wideman does what he do. 3 catches, and he was the closer in this game because he went bonkers late. Only 3 catches, but 43 yards a pop, 129. They did numbers that the Falcons was looking for. And I wasn't able to get that with the touchdown from Malachi, the best wide receiver in the league this year. Jeremiah Spencer, the wide receiver, had 5 catches for 106 yards. Tion Pitts, 4 for 75. Brian Gibson, the tight end, had 3 for 64 and a touchdown. Other than that, everybody else had cleanup duty numbers. So shout out to Malachi Wideman, shout out to Nico and Cameron Harrison for closing this game out defensively. Reeves Island, man, he's been the defensive player of the year on the NFC and he continues to play that way. We got a sight from JT Woods, 8 tackles from the safety position, which is solid. 8 tackles from Reeves Island. He had a tackle for loss. He had an interception in this game as well. When it comes down to getting to the quarterback, though, Trayvon Walker, not too many people do it better than him. 5 tackles, 2 sacks. Pat Teller, the veteran of 10 years, he had a sack in this game as well. And then when you look at the INTs, the four that was thrown by the Atlanta Falcons. Justin Flo caught one that was really a heartbreaker. This was a backbreaker for the Falcons on fourth down. They went for it. Quarterback got hit. Ball flew in the air. Justin Flo dove under it, changed the course of how that game was going to go. Again, Reeves Allen had a pick. JoJo Randolph, the 6'4" freak of a corner rookie, had a pick in this game. Robert Spirit Jennings, start to see some players that we really haven't really heard of all year make plays in this game, and that's a big time play from the safety, 6'1", 219. He had a pick in this game with 7 tackles, so he showed up big time. And then Brad Dawkins been in the awards race all year, three tackles in the INT. The Falcons win their game, they move on away from who their opponent is going forward. Now, let's talk about the Atlanta Falcons and what they need to do going forward. Absolutely nothing. I think the Falcons need to lock in if they really want to really go deep in the playoffs and really get back to Coach T being a dominant player. I think he has to respect this video game, in a sense of understand this ain't 21. It's a new disc. It's a new way of playing. It's a new way of success. Some guys got to figure it out. You see those guys that do got to figure out they're dominated. And each disc is like that. You figure out the kinks and things you can do. What's the name? I think the Falcons got to get a little bit more in depth in defense. A lot of guys in this league is calling the same defenses all game long. Let's just call it what it is. A lot of guys stand in the same one or two defenses all game long. And then be bad about if somebody do it to them though. So let's just call it what it is. And the Falcons are one of those teams. The problem is every defense is get it, no matter what he call, it gets turned to the same look. And I think because of that, I think guys are getting better, man. Like the coaches in this league are getting better. You know what I mean, unless you got the keys to the game itself, you're not going to be able to stay in one defense. You're going to need super help and some aliens to really make shit like that work. And I think with the way the Falcons play defensively, they have, one of the better user games. And still at this point, there's not too many guys that user better than Coach T does. With that being said, you can't do everything yourself, and then you make those same adjustments. You got guys like Falk that you're playing who literally, on a go call plays off of what you're in. You figure out that defense and you figure out how to beat that defense, it can put you in good situations. So in my opinion, I think the Falcons are right where they need to be. I think they need to just go a little bit deeper in their playbook and really trust the process of this game instead of come out. Nothing wrong with their high flying offense where they stretch the field. They throw the ball up and down that field. They take deep shots a lot. But I do think they need to really understand that this game is still about the run, and they need to really hone in on that. They need to figure out, is EJ Smith, Emmett's son, their running back. I think he is. I don't think they really got to go press looking for somebody, but I think they need to get a balance between how good that passing game really is. When you see the Falcons lose, it's because they throw 4 more interceptions, and usually they can overcome it against guys that are not, up to his caliber of play. But when you play the top tier teams and you throw 4 or 5 interceptions, you're going to lose that ball game. And most of his losses is because that's the case. He's throwing picks and guys that butt ball him back, where they're not going to let him pick him off because they're running the ball and they're taking their time on drives and things like that. So I just think the Falcons need to just really, take his coaching staff, have some meetings, sit down, maybe go on vacation together over the summer, and really, hone into what's good, what this game is about, and start putting his players in those situations. The moment he do that, you're looking at a guy that can win multiple Super Bowls. All right, now the Arizona Cardinals move on on their quest to get back to a Super Bowl with that new rebuilt, revamped offensive defensive personnel they got. Now, well, from there, that was a big game, 33-15, and the Cardinals move on. We go back over to the AFC side of things, and let's dig into this Raiders Broncos game, which is the third game this year that they had to play. Let's dig into it, see what we got going on stat wise right now. Now, I tell you like this, man. Looked like the Broncos was completely locked in. I think the game slipped away from the Raiders fast because what the Raiders wanted to do on defense, the Broncos didn't play into that. They took the underneath and checked down all game in the passing game, and they let their big Factor Baxter run the ball, man. Simple as that. Box score, 444 yards wise, 274 for the Raiders, 177 in the run game, 69 yards rushing for the Raiders, and that's unorthodox. This Raiders team is not going to win a game with only 69 yards rushing. 267 in the passing games for the Broncos, 205 for the Raiders. 14 first down, 16 the Raiders won that. And again, turnovers, 4-1. Anytime you turn the ball over 4 times, it's hard to really win that ball game. And it looked like the Broncos took advantage on the road in Las Vegas, took advantage of those turnovers. So let's dig into the stat line. All right, so Shador Sanders had 131.2 QBR, right? And Derek King had a 40.7 QBR in the playoffs. 267 passing yards, 3 touchdowns, 1 interception. And Derek King had 220 yards passing, 1 touchdown, 4 INTs. He was also sacked 3 times in the game. Listen, Shador showed up 70%. Derek King 48%. The game got out of control and out of his hands fast. Baxter had 18 carries, so did Kenneth Walker the third. Baxter also averaged 9 yards a pop with 159 yards, 2 touchdowns in this ball game. And Walker kind of got shut at 3.8. Shiloh ran a couple of times when he had to, but he scored a rushing touchdown in this game and had 6 yards a pop when he did run the ball. When it comes down to the receivers, we see their big time possession receiver. David Bell shows up with 5 catches, 138, 27.6 yards a pop and a touchdown. Clements was the man for the Raiders, 3 catches, 81 yards, no touchdown. Baxter out the backfield also had 5 catches for 77 yards, 15.4, 2 touchdowns. So it looked like really the Raiders didn't have an answer for this running back, whether he caught the check down out the backfield or he ran a football. He was in effect. Weidemeyer, the tight end, had 3 catches in this game. Pettaway 44 yards, 4 catches, 46 yards, and he had a touchdown in this game. Let's see how the young secondary fared in this game. All right, so Dyson led everybody with 10 tackles. Look at the tackles and losses. Bryce Ware, the veteran, had 1. Mustafa had 1 as well. Sacks, we saw that P.J. Mustafa got to the quarterback twice. Leonard Teller also had a sack too, the DN out of Miami. Good shit. Now you look at the interceptions, and let's see what happened. Anthony Mason, the young gunner, the son. We're gonna call him Anthony Son, Anthony M.I. We're gonna call him AM Son. All right, that's Jimbo's real son. He had 2 picks in this game. It always look good when your young gunners step up. Bobby Teller, the rookie cornerback, had a pick in this game. Look, Kamari Robinson had a pick in this game. When your young gunners is making INTs like this in a big playoff game for the first time, these guys being in that moment, and all 3 of your corners pick the ball off, all 3 of them, they go back to that hotel room happy as a motherfucker and they get to talk about it. And if you get this team confidence and these players confidence, look out because they can be dangerous to anybody they play. And the fact that between 3 rookie corners that they got this year out of this year's draft, they ended up having 4 interceptions. That's really really good. Let's see if any of them took some back to the crib because they was there. Look, the Denver Broncos went into Las Vegas and brought back. They went into Las Vegas and brought back the no-fly zone defensive old, the way their secondary was playing, especially their cornerback play. I mean, this is signs. This is all signs are pointing up for this team. And in the playoffs for them to get hot like that at the right moment is big time for Coach Jimbo and his Denver Broncos team. I mean, they showed up, man. All 3 of these corners are diaper dandies. All 3 of them produced in this ball game. Now, as far as the team that lost this game, the Las Vegas Raiders, I think they're on schedule with what they got over there. I like their receiver room. I think their defense is getting better. They got some really good pieces over there, especially in that secondary. They're getting better. What I think they need to do is continue the process. The Raiders did a really good job throwing the football this year, although it didn't show up in this game. But all year long, they did a good job throwing the football. And I think the more they continue to master, a few passing plays where they can, you know, throw guys off, get them off that run game scent, and make them respect their passing game. And I think this team is heading the right way. Now, this year, I would expect the Raiders not only did they pass the ball this year to get themselves comfortable with throwing the ball, now they have to understand when to pass the ball. Like, all right, when is it a good time to pass the ball? Well, if our run game is making you put 8 and 9 in the box, we're throwing the football, right? We can come out when you think we want to run the ball, we're throwing the football. I think now they have to understand their weapons, what they got. Venus Jones coming from New York added a deep threat dimension for this team that they needed. They got a young diaper dandy that's also playing at a high level that can run up and down the field and build a top off of defense, especially in cover zero and cover one. Now, with that being said, figure out the right places for these receivers to be at, along with the tight end Will Clements. Find out what's best, what plays are your favorite plays, who's your target on the favorite plays, and start to put those guys in those situations as you continue to develop your passing game. Other than that, I think they're heading on schedule. They're right where they need to be at. And, continue to build the process. I don't think it's a roster issue with this team. I think it's flat out them just getting better offensively and being able to be a little bit more open in a sense. Because what happens is when you're stuck on running the same plays over and over again, your pattern is picked up on, and guys start to be able to cover you, not because the play doesn't work anymore. It's just they know what you're doing, and they know your pattern. They know exactly what you're trying to do. I think they need to get better at disguising what they want to do and doing it. Simple as that. But I like where they are right now. The next game in the AFC that we're going to talk about is the Buffalo Bills and the Miami Dolphins. This game has uh, a lot to really talk about. The energy of this game, the energy of the two coaches. This is a flat out rival game, not only a divisional rival game, but a flat out rival game. And it honestly, I would bet I wouldn't be telling the truth if I didn't fix my lips and say the Dolphins is trying to turn the narrative around here. I mean, 2 years in a row, they knocked the Bills out of the playoffs. So my regular season don't matter. They play each other twice in the playoffs, 2 years in a row, and 2 years the Dolphins have won. To me, is the most important game, winning a playoff game, right? So I don't know, Max, what you think? Do you think the Dolphins are starting to turn the tide here?
Um, they're definitely trying to fix the narrative and paint a different narrative, and bring a different sense of confidence in their players in the locker room when going against the Bills.
It was a little bit of fourth quarter controversy in this game. How much of did that play into this game? Do you feel like it affect the game at all, or it affect the moment at all, or no?
I definitely think it played a part. Um, it played a part, but I wouldn't say it defined the whole game.
All
It
right, great. All
definitely
right,
played
so
a part though, but I would not say like that moment in the fourth defined the whole game.
all right, because this game was very, very, very big. I watched this game to be honest with you. I thought when I get into the stat line of things, some things you just can't take away from the Dolphins. I don't care what happened in that last the fourth quarter. Understand this. You can't do it. You can't turn on accelerated clock. It's called friendly. Like usually, if you blowing somebody the fuck out, you want to get out the game. You don't want a guy to concede on you. You just ask him, can you put the accelerated clock on? But not in a one score game. You can't be putting that on. So whether it was done by accident or just thinking that he can do it because of the fourth quarter, whatever, just not knowing the rule of it, that sucks. It sucks for Hoodie. But this game, was played for 4 quarters and not one. So uh, that's where I'll say you can't take away from what the Dolphins did in this game because they were very explosive in this game. They answered and they set the tone of this game right away. Before we get into the stats and numbers of that game, let's slide over here to the other game that was played, and that was the Bucks and the Eagles, 20-14. We have something to say about that. That was the last game played, and then the Lions and the 49ers game, 50-26. The highest scoring game or highest scoring winner of the wild card round. Max, I didn't watch this game. You did. The score doesn't show how good of a game this actually was, right?
It was 26-29. Um, going into the fourth, two back-to-back pick six by the Lions. Um, and then a third pick that the 49ers ended up taking a field goal or scoring on at the end. But up until that fourth quarter, about 6 minutes, it's a 3-point game. Um,
Right. Right. All right. So let's get into that game. Let's dig there first. I saw some of this game, but let's look at the storyline. The Detroit Lions came out pretty good in this game. I mean, 16 points in the first half, so a 14-16 first half. I mean, they even won the third quarter, 10-7, and then got shut out in the fourth. Not only shut out, they gave up 30 points in the fourth quarter. Why did the 49ers strike the way they did? Was it the turnovers that killed them in the fourth quarter, would you say? Or did they figure out something offensively as well?
A little bit of both. The turnovers definitely like helped, especially pick sixes because it's like offense never even touched the field. That's 14 points just for the defense, and then mixing momentum and gathering your information from the first three games, she was able to really kind of like take advantage of the position he was in. Um,
So we're looking at the offensive yards gained, 389. The Niners won that. 265 on the ground. The Niners won that. And the Detroit Lions won the passing game, but I think the passing game is the reason why they lost this game as well. Um, they were doing good throwing the football, and then the turnovers happened. That's where that balance got to come in. I don't know if it was hard for them to run the ball this game with 89 yards rushing. I don't know if the diaper Danny wasn't able to really get it going or what. But you got to better balance it out some. Like you see a good balance here: 265 and 124, 252 and 89. Not gonna cut it. They only had 9 first downs in this game, and the 49ers had 14. That's huge too. And then the turnover game. Niners turned the ball over twice. Lions turned the ball over 4 times. Anytime we're in the playoffs, anytime you are throwing turnovers, it's going to affect the way your game is played. Quinn Ewers got the start in this game. Surprised to me, Doolittle played in this game a little bit, but Quinn Ewers did get the start this game, 97.9. Both the quarterbacks didn't have a good day at all. Max, what do you got to say about these QBRs, 97.9 and 91 for AR-15?
um, just a testament to how close the game was at first, and how defense kind of pushed one of the teams kind of forward.
Yeah, I
Both of them
agree.
played well, but just also suffered to the defense. There was good defensive. It was a good defensive game.
Yeah, I definitely agree. And again, we talked about AR-15 throwing the ball to those young receivers against a really good secondary led by Brahim Wagner. So, this is what you got to see. 2 interceptions thrown by Richards. He was sacked 3 times, but then Quinn Ewers was sacked. Five-star got sacked 3 times. I mean, 1 time, but threw 3 interceptions in this game. Look at the run game. Tim Hamlin stepped up. 18 carries, 209 yards, 11.6, 2 touchdowns. Now, we talked about the 49ers using all three of their running backs. They gave Hamlin 18 carries, and then between the next two backs, they had 5 rushing carries, but they had a touchdown out of those two backs as well. Did we talked about this? This is one of the things I talked about when we talked about this matchup. Do you think they used their backfield effectively?
Yeah, definitely to a point. If it looks like they gave some early carries, and then they, seen that Hamlin had the hot hand and kind of kept it going, um, while still incorporating the other backs to kind of give him a chance to make something special happen.
I mean, Hamlin to me was disrespectful. I mean, you average a 12 yards a carry in a playoff game in a blizzard. That's like he was on fire. He was ready to go with the 2 rushing touchdowns as well. Craig gave him 34 yards, 11.3. I mean, all their running backs. Why are their average per carry so high right now? I mean, 11.6, 11.3, 11.5. It looked like the Detroit Lions had no answer for the run game whatsoever.
Um, I definitely feel like that's what it was, but I mean, looking at some of the games of Lions this season, I guess that's been kind of their problem is stopping the run.
Hmm.
Um, when we looked at Ruben Owens and then just throughout the season, I guess some of their issues has been stopping the run. And in the snow game in Detroit, not being able to stop the run in the snow is kind of a pain.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Now look at the receiving yards. Angelo popped up, 93 receiving yards. He had a touchdown in this game. Timmons also had a one-play tutty. The tight end Elijah Arroyo, fresh from the Giants roster. stepped up before catching 72 yards and a touchdown in this game, and then Eden James out the backfield, 2 catches, 26 yards and a touchdown as well. Um, the 49ers got it done late in the fourth quarter, scoring 29 points in that fourth quarter, changed the outcome of this game. They went on the road, they went in the blizzard, they won that ball game. They're going to continue to be on the road. They got to go play the New York Giants tonight, and it's the lower seed versus the higher seed in that situation. So seeing this stat line, right, Max? Um, where does the Lions go from here? I think this offseason they need to address their front four, front seven, uh, because coming into the playoffs they gave up. I mean, literally, Ruben Owens won the Rookie of the Year off of that Lions game. So if I was to go back through all their games and look at their stat line and what they did against the run this year, I'm assuming if the games they lost when they were effective was because they couldn't stop the run. So in my opinion, I think the Detroit Lions, what they do this offseason, attacking in the draft, whether you're getting linebackers or defensive linemen, but you got to look for a trade, maybe a trade or two, to really where you're not starting fresh, where you're not bringing rookies in and relying on those rookies to be those key pieces up in your front seven. So I would try to make a trade, maybe trade or two, and see if you can, or check free agency out and see if you can go get you a stud defensive lineman and a stud linebacker to add to what you have already, guys that's ready to play right now. To be able to add to get you back to the same situation, so you're not dealing with the same situation. You got to be able to stop the run, regular season and postseason, for you to be effective. They played a really good game, but giving three running backs 11 yards or more on every carry they had, that's not going to get it done. And that means you have to spend this offseason in addressing that situation, period. So I think the Lions are where they are. They're in a good spot. They got a really good roster, top to bottom. I just think they need a couple of playmakers on that front seven defensively, and they can if they can go out there and take care of that. I think this team comes
Clearly,
back and do it again, and they'll be right back in the playoffs next season.
yeah,
So
I
that's where I
definitely
think
think
the
you
Lions
got to
is
go
at.
front seven.
Hmm.
You can afford maybe a couple after maybe looking at the draft class. Now that your season's over, take a good look at the board, and you next can see what's maybe worth you drafting, and then see if it's something that you feel like you need a fresh start or you need a dominant start.
His round one and two pick has to be legit starters right away,
Starters, yeah,
flat out
for that run
starters.
game, for the
Hmm.
run game. So whether that's
And then free
and
agency or even
tackle,
trading, can get you that extra. Like I think if they could find three, maybe four, I would say four will really do it. But three, if they could find three legit players, whether it's through the draft, free agency, or trade, that really pit to that front seven, I think this team can do some things to change the narrative of what's happening with them in the run game.
I would say at least three, and the tackle and the linebacker. At least this is my ideal thought, but it might be two ends and a linebacker. It might be all D linemen. Never know. But I feel like that coach should be able to figure it out sometime after some evaluation on his team to get himself back in a comfortable position. Because nobody likes getting the ball ran on them.
Nah, they don't want to be the ball ran down your throat. And this team, the 49ers, came out and they literally, I mean, to me, I'm really snapping on my D line coach and my linebacker coaches, and I want to know why we gave up 11 yards of carry to three different running backs. It wasn't like it was just
A
one.
pop, a pop.
A pop, 11 yards of carry, a pop to three different running backs. So what's going on there? So we got to get that fixed. And honestly, somebody should lose their job. Some type of assistant coach over there should get
Maybe the
fired.
defensive coordinator in itself. I don't know. Like you
Uh,
may have to.
I mean, I
I
would
don't know.
I wouldn't be mad at that either. Fire the fuck out of him. Get him out of there. Get that guy the fuck out of there, and get somebody else in the building along with a couple of players and talent. Other than that, I think the Lions are where they need to be at. I think they will win their. Honestly, they're going to win their division next year again. I just think that when they get to those big time games, man, and bigger games, they got to better stop the run. Um, and it started crazy because we didn't really see it because we was too busy like trying to figure out how the hell Ruben Owens stole the offensive rookie of the year, but that game was a tell-all. That told us what we needed to know with that front seven. with the Detroit Lions. And we talked about it yesterday. You kind of was like their defense running the game. I don't think they're going to better run the ball. And I told you their strength is their secondary. I think that's where they're going to be in trouble at is against the run, and we saw it. So Detroit, Antonio, if you listening, man, go get three. Find a way to get three dogs to be able to plug and play on our front seven, and let's get back after it again. Over there for sure. All right, so we're gonna slide back over to the AFC and let's get into this 36-41 matchup right here. And before I talk about the box score stats, let's talk about how these quarters went. So Dolphins scored 7-3 in the first quarter. They had a 20-17 second quarter. They had a 7-9 third quarter and a 7-7 fourth quarter. So this was a shootout. Both these teams that in the elements, the weather element was a force. And it was a lot of wide open plays that happened in this game. A lot of guys were running clean, catching the ball and turning and running clean without anybody tackling them for a few yards in this game. Look at it, 511 offensive yards gained to 355, 62 rushing yards to 22. And to me, that's where I don't know if the Bills was playing catch up. I watched this game, and it looked like it got ugly, but it wasn't ugly. The Bills was always in striking distance. They walked the kick return back in this game. So it was like every time the Dolphins looked like they wanted to put the game away, the Bills came screaming right the fuck back. But it does hurt that they only had 22 yards rushing in this game. The Dolphins threw the ball really well, 449 to 333, and so did Mike Weber, 333 passing yards. Not close your eyes at 15 first down to 12, 549 to 517, and it wasn't a lot of turnovers in this game. But the problem is this: the Bills turned the ball over twice. Dolphins had no turnovers, so they really was throwing the ball at a high level all over the field. It was at every level of the game, the field in the passing game. They were able to really be successful at whether it was check downs to running backs, drag routes, crossing routes, whatever it was. They was able to really make the Bills pay because their quarterback came out striking and it looked like he had a perfect QB rating with 158.3. Anytime your quarterback come out on fire like this in the blizzard and have this type of game, six passing touchdowns, no interceptions. He told the Bills and he told the world that my quarterback's the best quarterback on the field today. And he came out and showed that 457, six touchdowns. He said, what we've been doing all year at the quarterback position, fighting in the top three for passing yards and touchdowns and efficiency. We're in the playoffs. Great show right now, and Harper, trigger man, in my opinion, took that next step. This is scary that he was that good against a very good defense of the Buffalo Bills. Um, I don't know if you're still here or you talking to your boy Blau. Blau. Hey, Blau.
I'm here.
What the hell happened in this game for Trigger Man to go off the way he did, have a perfect QB rating, those six touchdowns, and no interceptions?
Um, I don't think he really forced anything. I think he played within himself. As far as his play style, probably played with enough swagger, um, and then confidence in a sense to kind of just make the throws that he needs to make, and nothing more, nothing less on some of them.
I mean, he came out striking, man. Six passing touchdowns. He was only sacked once as well, man. This guy came out and went fucking crazy. 21 for 24, literally only three incomplete passes in the snow. Mike Weber, 17 for 26. He started to look a lot better in the second half. But to me, the pressure, like this game is reversed. You got a team like the Bills who has Barno at outside linebacker who always averaging 20 sacks a season every year. But today the story was told with the front seven of the Dolphins getting to Mike Weber four times in this game. Why do you think that the Dolphins was able to contain that pass rush from the Bills, but the Bills on the flip side of it wasn't able to contain the Dolphins pass rush?
I just think the Dolphins have been kind of trying to attack that D line position for the last couple of years, and the Bills, um, they've been a solid, I would say more of a solid run D line than get to the quarterback type of D line and system. Um, and then with Felix Harper being the more athletic quarterback that the Dolphins have had, and him and Pierre can cause for trouble. A mobile quarterback can extend plays, and we all know, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So I think that was just part of the game for the Dolphins, and it'll be interesting to see how the Bills kind of adapts to it because they will.
They ran the ball 20 times in this game. 3.7 from their starting running back, 2.5 from their backup running back. But those 20 carries were effective because, again, I told you about this. The storyline and stat line might not show how effective they actually really was, but I saw a lot of big first downs out of those 20 carries. Although they didn't really average much, per carry, a lot of those 20 carries ended up in chain moving carries up the field. And then the one mistake Spencer Moss did make, the Bills wasn't able to jump on that fumble, which the Dolphins ended up still scoring on that drive. Now I don't know if it was a field goal or a touchdown, but they scored on that drive where the Bills had the
That's a
turnover and
close
didn't get it.
case.
Now, when you look at the receiving game, Danny Gray showed up. When you're looking at receivers that played well, Gray had 5 catches, 131 yards and a touchdown. Deion Smith, one of the top receivers this year, 4 catches, 117, 29.3 yards a pop. He had 2 touchdowns. We had yards, a lot of yards out of the Bills receivers. McClain showed up 4 for 122. Hendricks also had 5 for 112. But they didn't score any touchdowns. Moss caught the ball twice out the backfield for an average of 42 yards. Table routes out the backfield that went 42 yards every time he off the ball, and he had a long one for a touchdown as well. Chris Poole had 3 catches, 80 yards and a touchdown. Tight end Lloyd, 5 catches, 79 yards and a touchdown. You look at the stat line of the Dolphins, you just go to their receiving game. This is their offense in a nutshell. These are a lot of these plays are yak yards, right? Short catches, but being able to turn them into big games. And, it happened all game long, and I think that was the frustration of the Bills defense. They couldn't get this team off the field because even in their short passing game, they were able to turn out and make those things big plays where a 3 yard gain turns into a 15-yard gain, and they were able to do that all game long. And different. Look how many different people touched the ball. I mean, Danny Gray had 5 catches, Deion had 4, Spencer out the backfield twice. The tight end had 5 catches, and even Gary Bryant had 3, along with Fitzsimmons with a catch out the backfield as well. You can go even down to the rookie Johnny Shakur had a catch. That's a lot of different guys, being responsible for making plays, some type of play in this game. And the Dolphins showed up and showed off. So talk to me, Max, about this game. What did you see offensively for both teams?
Um, I didn't catch this game as much as I did the other two, just by chance. But when I did tune in, I feel like I saw a kind of a nice balanced machine, kind of a little bit with the Dolphins. I feel like I'm seeing more balance, like we was talking about in previous weeks, as far as just
The
putting the
Bills
ball on the ground
defense
at certain
never.
times.
This is the thing. The Dolphins came out and ran their offense, but the Bills defense have never made them uncomfortable in running their offense. They didn't.
Yep.
They wasn't able to take anything away from them. And because of that, when you're running your system and you're running the things you're comfortable with running, and you're getting no pushback to running those situations, and look, you come out and have a perfect QBR, and you throw 6 touchdown passes because the Bills had no answer for it. I don't know if it was a snow game. I don't know what it was about this game, but the Dolphins were on fire and what they like to do, and the Bills did what they like to do, but they turned the ball over twice, which resulted into the reason why they lost this ball game. So I ask you, what was more important, the fourth quarter accelerated clock or the 2 interceptions that the Bills had in that game when Trigger Man was clean. He didn't get sacked really, and he didn't turn the ball over.
Um, I would say the two turnovers to me, just because I know for sure he scored on one. I don't remember if he scored on the other one, and um, I feel like the two turnovers is part of the reason that something like you know a shoe clock would even happen in a sense because he's trying to get up out of there. So you know what I'm saying? Like if those two turnovers don't happen, the fourth quarter thing probably doesn't even happen because it's a ball game versus you gave them
It,
an extra 2 possessions.
it was a ball game even in that fourth quarter, and this is supposed to
Even
happen.
I was about to
Here's the
say even
thing:
without
it
the
happened
turnover.
early in the fourth quarter, and they were able to eat 4 minutes and 32 seconds off the fucking clock. Period. With that. With that being said, now you said earlier off air, yeah, but the Bills got the ball twice. They still had two possessions. It's a difference with with the time not being on your side, having two possessions versus the time on your side with two possessions. Your play calling is different when you got to score against the clock versus being able to have time to put a drive together. So I do think it affected that part of the game, but I don't think that can be the clear cut. You know what I'm saying? Like at all. Like you can't take away. You gotta look at and you just I didn't move from their offensive receiving stats yet because this don't got shit to do with clock right here. 5 for 131, 4 for 117, 2 for 84, 5 for 79, 3 for 36, 1 for 2 and a touchdown. Like this don't have nothing to do with nothing besides them up and down the field and their offense is on fire and everything they doing is working and everything defensively you doing is not working. Now with that being said, if I showed the Bill stat line too, they were striking in this game as well. The only difference is, really looking at what we're seeing right here, the only difference is, two interceptions were thrown by their quarterback, flat out. That's the only difference in this game. Two picks thrown by Mike Weber, where he usually is different in the second half. You know what I'm saying? So today, what I saw in this game, watching it, Felix Harper was the better quarterback on the field. Would you agree or disagree with that?
Nope, I would agree.
What type of statement does this game make for the Dolphins? Does this should the Bills be concerned going forward?
No, it's not. I would say, I would say this is more like that last year fluke. We ain't respecting that fluke call last year. To me, that's what I would look at it
I'm confused.
as.
What do you mean? What do you mean? What was the fluke last year? What happened? Refresh the listeners' memories that don't understand what you're saying. Fluke what? What happened?
Just when the Bills and the Dolphins matched up in the divisional, they were reports that the Bills kind of let that game okey doke, um, be it going out of town. So I feel like the Dolphins, you know, with this type of game, they're not really trying to hear nothing of that.
Oh, I
They're
get
trying
it.
to hear that.
Oh, you taking my win away from me. You went on vacation. Okay, cool. So you gave me that win. All right.
So
Well,
we
what
line
about this
back
one?
up, and we line back up in week one of the playoffs. It's just like you know, chip on your shoulder a little bit playing that game. So
Let me ask you this: is it safe to say Harper is the truth? Triggerman, Felix Triggerman Harper is really the truth, man. He took this team to the championship last year, and he's on course for it again this year.
I definitely think.
How scary is this for Baltimore to see that this quarterback came out, wasn't sacked, was a perfect QBR, and lit the fucking field up for 400, almost 500 yards passing?
Something to be noted, but he was only sacked once in a season where Baltimore is basically Blitzamore, the Blitzamore Ravens and shit. So I feel like they're looking at that, but they're like we hope you can stay that clean. You better hope you can stay that clean versus us, because we've been known to hit quarterbacks X amount of times during games, and we got to see the testament if Felix Harper can have a game where he's getting pressure in his face all the time and sacks, and he's hit the dirt a couple times. Can he stay resilient and have a lights out game versus a big time defense? Because that's what he's going to have to do against the Ravens. To me,
All right. So again, my question again to you was, how was this a statement game for the Miami Dolphins? Like is the monkey off their back when it comes down to the Bills?
I would think the coach has to feel so.
All right. So let's talk about the team, like we talk about all the teams that had lost that game. The Bills lost the game. Where do they go from here?
Nowhere, come back. Um,
Run it back. Simple as that.
maybe
Run it
acquire,
back.
yeah, maybe acquire a pass rusher, free agency somewhere, trade something.
They
I've
got they
never
got to
really
they got
known.
to. Here's the thing. No disrespect. Their pass rush comes from the way they call defenses. They get them from their secondary players and their linebackers. I agree with you. Maybe a pass rusher.
On that front four, yeah, a
Yeah,
pass rusher that can
yeah, I agree
put his
with you.
hand in the dirt and then maybe do some other special things.
What we do know is they'll be active in free agency for sure. So go ahead and let a player slip away if you want to. They will be right on Buffalo's roster in a heartbeat. Even if they don't need them, they get them. So I will say that the one thing this coach do is he does a great job of filling holes and pitting and not over getting needs. You know what I'm saying? Like he's in a good situation. He could probably make any type of trade he wanted this season, this off season, to do what he want in the draft or free agency right now or VI trade because they got the pieces everywhere to do it all. I don't think I don't think they got a lot of work to do. I think they just gotta retool themselves and then retrain their thought process and understand this. If I'm the Bills, I'm not saying, all right, the Dolphins is a problem now, but you can't look at this team like you have been looking at him. Like, man, he ass, I'm gonna whoop his ass. You can't look at him like that no more because he's showing you that that's not the case anymore. So now your thought process has changed a little bit on, all right, let's give this team a little bit more respect and play them with a little bit more respect to be able to continue to win these ball games. Because if you don't respect this team, look what's happening. Um, and the process is there. The Dolphins asked me a few seasons back, man, what do I got to do to get over that hump and all that? And it's to me it was more about the build your team, build. You got to match his personnel, and we've been seeing the Dolphins do that over the last three drafts. They're putting the pieces together and they get in the right situations going to be able to put themselves in a situation to compete again, and they did exactly that. So I think the Bills are still who they are. They're one of the top teams in the league, and if they want to continue to win this division and dominate that division, I think it comes to just respecting the fact that the hunger of the Dolphins is not allowing him to just keep laying down and letting you walk all over him. He's fighting back. I mean, he got his strong arm up. And he's fighting, and he's saying, "I don't wipe my ass with Charmin's tissue, nigga. I don't wipe at all. We just pull our shit up and keep it moving. Shitty boots." Oh man, go ahead, hoodie, get it together over there. Everybody got to get it together here and there, man. You heard? All right, so the last game that we're gonna talk about is the Philadelphia Eagles travel to Tampa Bay, and two familiar coaches with each other lines up and battles it out in Tampa Bay, Florida, right now. 20-14 was the score of this game. Max, are you with me? 20-14 was the score of this game. What happened? I didn't watch none of this game. I know you did. So I would like some of your input if I can. Stop talking to Blau ass and get back on mic so we can get shit done. What happened in Tampa Bay? For Tampa Bay to pull the game out, uh, 14-20. Because if you look at the fourth quarter, the Eagles won that fourth quarter. Um, there wasn't a lot of high scoring from one of them high powered teams in the league. So what happened in this game, Max?
I was saying, I think the game was more, it was more defensive just because the coach knew each other. There was some nuances in between the game where, um, you know, players on offense didn't make plays, and then players on defense, made tremendous plays. Um, just two coaches, you could tell just within the game they knew each other well. Uh, Play testaments to some success, and then also some of the demise within, the Eagles, and then why you'd see the Bucks kind of with a lower score than usual out of their Week 1 playoff matchup.
My thing is the Eagles ain't put a point on the board until the fourth quarter, and that's the problem. You
Yep.
can't play this type of a good game the way you played and go three quarters with no points. And obviously that's the way the game went. I mean, the Bucks didn't score at a high level, but what they did was their defense showed up because they kept you out of the end zone for three straight quarters. Seven in the first, three in the second, seven in the third. Slow game. Looked like the clock went fast because the way the game was played. Looked like that field goal happened right before halftime. And you got a 10-0 lead. You go up 17-0, and the Eagles fight back. 14-20, but couldn't pull the game all the way out, and that's what happened. So let's look at the stat line. Ray Wills, 131.1 QB rating. DT has 72.5. He threw three picks in this game. Wills only threw a touchdown, but no interceptions in this game, and he wasn't sacked really at all. Had one sack. DT hit the floor four times and threw three picks in this game. He also had a 65% completion percentage, and Wills shit went way high, sky 86%. You don't have to have a mega million yards to be very effective in your passing game, especially when 20 for 23. You only threw three incomplete passes in this game, and the ones you did throw was effective. You either moved the chains all game long, and then you also scored a touchdown through the passing game. When you look at the run game, Ruggs had 15 carries, and the Eagles really did not show up to stop the run game. They kept him out of the end zone, but they did not stop him from going up and down the field for 9 yards a carry, 15 for 127. He was effective. Zeus had 13, 4.7, 61 yards and a touchdown. Wills also carried the ball 22 yards, 7.3 yards to pop. He also scored a touchdown in this ball game as well. Um, I'm gonna say this. It looks like was the Bucks going for it on fourth down a lot in this game. I know I spoke to him. He said a couple of drives he went for it on fourth down and just didn't get it. Not being locked in, and most points where if he playing me, somebody else, he's kicking those field goals and not going for it on fourth down. He decided to do it, and the Eagles almost made him pay for it. But holding that team to no points in three quarters is big. Brew McCoy stepped up, 5 catches, 139 yards, and is the second receiver on this team for the Eagles. Had 4 catches, and Stewart had 6, and has had 100 yards and a touchdown. Stewart almost had 100 yards, but no score there. Ray Joseph with 4 catches, 65 yards and a touchdown in this ball game. Um, I mean, these guys, all their stat lines. Even I love the fact that Ennis had 4 catches, and 6. You got 10 catches out of your best two receivers. Not bad at all. And you had 9 out of your best two receivers. So they were putting it on. Let's look and see what this defense did. You had 7 tackles from Kobe Bryant, the corner, 3 tackles for losses. He was blitzing his ass. 5 from Khalil Ali. Sack wise, the Bucks guy only went on the ground once. Cornerback Daniels got a sack in this game. Jacobs had a sack. Houston had a sack as well, and then Shazier had 2 of them things. INT wise, you're looking at Breeston with a pick, Grimes had a pick, and then Ransom had a pick in this game. 3 interceptions and just about cut it. What's up, Falky? All right, so Max, if you're here, man, the Bucks win. They are traveling to Arizona. No, they're not traveling to Arizona. Arizona is traveling to Tampa Bay. The 49ers are traveling to New York. The Houston Texans is staying home against the Broncos, and the Dolphins are traveling to the Baltimore Ravens. Where does the Eagles go from here?
Um, I mean, I feel like they have the offense set up. I would say, I would say honestly, still working on. Um, I would say still working on the defense. I just don't know exactly where at this point. I would have to take a little bit of a deeper dive because they've been successful with the stopping the run, but the Bucks is one of the best running teams in the league. So this being their downfall in the game, not being able to stop Ruggs, I don't really think that's something to hang your head on, but it's something you definitely got to be able to settle down on.
I'm gonna say this: it ain't personnel for the Eagles. It still remains to be coaching for the Eagles. They got to find a way to, when they're playing this good of a defense, a game against the Bucks and holding them guys to only 7 points, 14 points in the ball game, as far as them scoring touchdowns wise, they got to find a way to score points. They can't go three quarters with no touchdowns, no score at all, no field goals, no nothing. That's coaching to me. I think they got to find a way to get things done in those moments. It's not easy. You're playing the Bucks, so it's not easy to do any of the things we're asking him to do. But I don't think he has to look at personnel. I think he has to look at himself as a coach and how can he take the next step. How you feel about that, Falk? Right. Yeah, me too. All right, so in the NFC, you got the 1 seed versus the 5 seed, 2 seed versus the 3rd seed. In the AFC, you have the 4 versus 6 and the 1 versus 7. Listen, we had great games in the wild card round. We don't expect nothing less in the divisional round. We'll be back after the divisional round is finished. Other than that, and hits the franchise guru, Maximilian. We out here.